In 2018, a girl started posting mukbang videos under the name Kate Yup. She is posting with a tray before her and a zoom on the large amounts of food she consumes. But where is she and how do we get closer to finding her? Quick interlude, as this is my second time now watching all of her videos. Here is the clearest shot I have found on most of her face, and then here we have the possible mole that she might have been hiding, not so successfully, because I have seen it in a couple of places once she switches up the blindfold. Sketch artist? Anybody? No? Okay, let's move on to the story. Maya is the name. Finding where Kate Yup might be located is the game. It is the game plan of part 2 out of 4 of Kate Yup's series. So, without further ado, this one won't be as long, but it's as structured. So let's start yet again from the beginning. Where is she sitting? What kind of location do we perceive that she is in? And then move on to chat about further details in her background. Can they reveal something to us? Why does she use the glass cutlery and bowls? Can they reveal who is actually in front of her? Is there somebody else in the room? And then by the end of the video, let's just discuss the conclusions and what can we actually tell from the locations she reveals throughout her videos and just on YouTube in general. So first, let's talk about the backdrop. Once you enter Kate Yup's videos, you see sort of a white background. You can't really figure out at first, is it just like the drawers, is she in the kitchen, is it a wall? And then to her left, so sort of like screen is kind of divided like 70-30 in most of her videos, with the focus always being on the tray and on the bottom of her face, which also, as we'll talk later, makes me suspect that she is sitting on the floor. So to the left of our screen, so to her right, in a lot of videos it strikes me as a passage, sometimes maybe even with a door open, sometimes clearly being the wall with kind of like a shiny bottom part of the wall. Scaffolders and like people who understand walls are gonna come for my ass. Feel free. But just from the prevalently white theme and from the vibe that I got in the first couple of videos, her obviously sitting eating salmon with a tray and a table in front of her, the logical conclusion would be that she is in the kitchen. Between the third and the sixth video, we kind of have that confirmed, because she does seem to be having changed an angle, and we do see kind of the bottom part of the kitchen sink. The focus is still on her, so I can't possibly identify any items on the sink. I would suppose it's probably like a sponge and a soap, but I really can't tell even after zooming in. Do let me know if you see something that I don't. Then in one video she does introduce a plant on our left and her right side, sort of maybe in an attempt to disguise the background, maybe in an attempt to just make it more aesthetic, which kind of strikes me that it's not a letter because, well, she doesn't reintroduce that plant and she really doesn't care about the aesthetic. We're kind of mostly focusing on the tray and the her and the floor in the back. What I think most people find eerie thinking about the backdrop is that she doesn't reveal much of her surroundings. Like, the focus is still on her and you can't really see much of what is going on behind her. But what she doesn't edit out, nor does she try to conceal, or whether it is with a plant or with the focus on the camera, is, you know, that tape that was like literally by her side. After rewatching the videos, I have seen the tape in yet another video, literally hidden behind a lobster on her tray. And then it just chilled there for like the rest of the video. So she doesn't remove that tape. We'll have a whole segment focusing on the sides during this video, but there is one with a glass. Then in another one she has like a pot and a candle there in the back, which again don't reveal anything, don't add to the environment. So I don't see that she had like a thought process like, oh, let me add this will look good on camera. And as we spoke about during the first video, the scissors, the cutters, they're always left on the tray or on the side, like the napkin is sometimes popping out, like the paper that she uses to like wipe her face with. So we don't see cuts of those. She doesn't edit those out. She doesn't make sure that like the camera only focuses on the tray and her, which makes you think, well, why are those things not edited out of the backdrop or just removed before she sits down to eat, while she does desperately focus to hide her background from us or any identifying things from her background? Because after about the sixth video, you can really see that she does more and more focus to just zoom in on her face. And personally, I think this is to disguise the fact that she might have moved rooms. So within her videos, I spotted 3 or 4 possible locations or just different rooms within the same house, because yet again we have prevalently white backdrop in general. So the first backdrop that I spotted was the one that we spoke about, the one with the sink that seems to be the backdrop in her first couple of videos, just from different angles. I say that this is the same one purely because of how that left side looks like, and also because it just looks like it's kitchen cupboards at the bottom of the right side of our screen, so where the sink is, and that would kind of make it logical for me that it is within the kitchen area. Then I think she either moves to a second room or she just changed the angle. Like the same way if I was to just shift this camera to like a completely different angle within this same room. And here I'll show you the timestamp where it looked to me that the left side is completely different. Yet again, might mean the same room within the same house, or it might mean just the actual angle has changed and this side of the area where she is in looks completely different. When it comes to this zooming in, I again would not make a huge deal out of it. It is literally within every single YouTuber's video, sometimes even with mine. And when I first discovered it, I think it was Jeffrey Dahmer's video on Last Meals series on this channel. It was literally just like zooming in, zooming in, zooming in. And then I kind of, after rewatching that, I was like, okay, this kind of needs to like stop. Like this is not really what this channel is all about. But quite literally every single YouTuber does it for some sort of dramatic effect, and she does mukbang videos, ASMR. It would entail a better sound and also a close-up on the food that she is eating. Because of the nature of the channel, there shouldn't be anything morbid really about her suddenly zooming in on her tray and on herself. It just might mean that she got better at doing what the channel is all about. Why I'm focusing so much on explaining this zooming in to you is because it drove me insane. Not because of the zooming in part, but just because of the focus on the backdrop, because it gets so much harder. It got me in this trippy state because when you watch the video where she's eating these honeycomb sweets and the aloe vera, it looks to me as if she's in a completely different room. Yet again, white kind of background, maybe a door to the side, but it just looks like, okay, this is a third location, just because of how much she does zoom in now on the tray and herself. After this one, I thought she was back to her second location, then back to that kitchen area because she does use the oven, if you remember those brains video. So there is a cable behind her in some videos as well. I think she does end her channel in her 30th video there, where she began. But then there is one other location, or yet again an angle, where she does seem to be in a room. I don't know what really is behind her, but it kind of seems either like drying clothes or just a blanket. It gives me the idea that she might be like in the bedroom or just in the area of the kitchen where her clothes are drying in the back. And there seems to be like a pillow or like a neck rest, again just to her side in these videos. Do drop the comments below with your thoughts on whether she is in 4 different locations within the same house, possibly different ones? Or do you think it is just different angles and we can't really even tell? But do you see what I see? Meaning 4 completely different angles at least. Now let's move on to something that might help us with that, and that is the table that she has this tray on and that she's eating from. As we spoke about in the first video, her first 2 videos are the least professional, and then by default the most natural ones as well, but those are the ones where you can kind of see she isn't really hiding much. Quite literally, that is why the channel got popular and why it is so eerie. And within those first 2 videos, you can really see that this table that she's eating from is just like a mesh of like metal and wires. And to me, it doesn't seem shaped like any normal table that you would eat off. If you really pay attention to this table during the videos, first of all, she does have a lot going on it. The tray is already in a rectangular shape and she does eat huge amounts of food, so sometimes the food is overflowing. Then she usually has like condiments or just like sauces and stuff on the side, so there's even more to fit on it. And then like if she does have napkins or water, that does already seem to me to be on that same table. So the only thing that would make sense to me is that this table is some form, or at least in the shape of an ironing board. I do sound crazy. This channel is driving me insane. First of all, the mesh of wires that this table looks to be made up of drives me insane. But then also, if you look at most of her videos, she has something covering it, and it doesn't seem to be tablecloth in most of them. It seems to be towels. Which drives me to think that this isn't something solid where she can just keep a tray, but she rather wants to protect the food off the tray falling onto the ground with something like towels and cloths. Humor me for a second. If this was a table with a solid board, why wouldn't she just be putting tablecloths over it? Unless that would look bad in the video, because if something was to drop, it would get stained and she would need to pick it up from there, and it would look like there is a hole in the table. Because the towels don't serve any other purpose. As we know, she wipes her face on her handband or like with something on the side or with her other hand. It's just all gross. So the towels are not there as like, ooh, napkins, you know, like when you put like a little bib on a baby for her to wipe that off. So the towels on the table don't add to anything else but to make me think that this table is hollow, possibly an ironing board. I'm gonna go insane with this. This leads me to the actionable point of the day. Again, somebody with a talent, whether it is the TikTok guy or yourself, who can get measuring. We do have the object surrounding her. We have that tray that is the constant in all of her videos. We have some props like the plant, like the tape, like the food that she's eating, like that candle and the pot in the background. In those videos where the sink is in the shot, you could probably estimate the size of at least 1/2 of that sink, and then maybe compare it, flip it and reverse it, compare it in relation to other objects in her house. I don't think that personally it would reveal the exact location. I think it would reveal whether she's definitely eating from the floor, maybe the size of that table, so that at least we have that mystery revealed, like why is she eating from this weird ass table, in a sense of what kind of table she's eating from. Maybe this can lead us to something about the culture of a place where she's eating from, and yet again, finally, maybe it leads us to at least her own height. We spoke about the table. Now let's speak about the cutlery. Kate does use the same tray and cutlery in most of her videos. She also does use the same sauce trays. Sometimes she obviously eats like rice or eats different foods, so she brings different trays along. But I gotta point out, a lot of these trays, a lot of these bowls are made from glass. We all watched Scandal with Kerry Washington, right? Bold of you to assume things, Maya. But there is that scene where let's not spoil scandal for people that haven't watched it. Somebody gets kidnapped, and then while they're recording her for like a ransom note, well, she asks for a glass of water, and then she arches that glass in order to, reflect somebody and possibly reveal where she is at, and that does yield some success. And as you might find out later, that sort of to a certain degree is what happens in these videos. So, if kidnapped, well, not to call a person out, but the shittiest kidnapper possible, because your own reflection, if you are standing behind the camera, will reflect in those glass bowls for sure. But the whole thing about the same tray, same cutlery with the green handles, even the scissors have like green handle in some of them, and then some scissors are different. The same bowls that she uses in all of those videos make me believe that she is within the same household. Or if somebody is transporting her again, then they're transporting everything else with her. Which, why the hell would they be doing that? There are a few oddities when it comes to her usage of cutlery. One time she does have a plastic spoon that she uses to eat a sauce or rice or some gross things on this table. This could be a leftover from her Chinese takeaway for all we know. Then there is this patterned white tray that might reveal a brand, although I wouldn't really say that this pattern would belong to a certain brand, but regardless, I'll add it to the screen because this is the only one that has some form of pattern. And then one time, you won't believe it, but she does bring out a fork that has a silver handle, and it doesn't look like it might belong to the same set, and people might be going crazy about it right now, so let's just move on. She might have cutlery that doesn't belong to the same set, and we have to deal with it. Onto the bowls that she uses them. She does introduce them from the first video, and yet again, she keeps using them. Whether it is for sauces, whether it is glass plates for yet another sauce that she does use, or whether they're like huge glass bowls for the rice, for the other food that she eats in those videos. So I just want to ask you personally a quick question. If you were to have kidnapped somebody, would you really give them the glass bowls to be eating things from? When you can technically, there is nothing really aesthetic or environmentally friendly about this channel for Kate not to be eating everything out of plastic containers, to be eating with plastic cutlery, not to have anything that would identify her household. But then, to play the devil's advocate, none of the things that we see in the videos do reveal more about where she is. But one revelation that I have for certain after watching this video is that somebody is in the room with her. Whether it is this recording of somebody just pacing back and forth, or the sounds and the creaks that you hear of somebody definitely moving loudly close to her, or somebody again walking past the camera right in front of her, the glass bowl picks it up, or the microphone does pick it up in at least 4 different occasions that I have spotted, so there probably might be more. I did filter through a lot of things that can be just the creak of the door in the apartment next door, like all of the noises that might be really far away and definitely don't indicate somebody is in the exact same room, but definitely you see the movement in the balls that is not her, that wouldn't be like camera swaying or anything like that. And as we'll discuss next week, this might be the most sinister thing out there, or as we'll discuss in part 4, this might be just her mom, dad, somebody passing by as she's recording. This microphone has picked up my husband walking up and down the stairs so many times. It has picked up literally the traffic. It has picked up me banging the wedding ring against the chair multiple times. You could have had 100 conspiracy theories about this so far. Thank you for not doing that, by the way. That would have been the most niche kidnapper. Imagine kidnapping somebody and then forcing them to research true crime, record it and edit it, and not expecting them to signal for help. Yeah, different situation. But something to note, because I really do pay attention to detail in these videos and I'm really picky, the cutlery is also mostly made out of glass, which, because of the zooms and because of the prevalence of the zooms in half of her videos, could reveal a lot. And I haven't picked up anything from the cutlery yet. You know, like the fork, the metal bottom part is literally sometimes right here in front of the camera. And you don't pick up any reflections. Yes, it might be that the person is not there then, but surely in some videos that would have also been picked up by people who have probably done even deeper dives than myself, like online, adding timestamps on her comments. And on the note of reflections and just the sounds in general, I don't really think that somebody is there all the time. Some of her videos are properly silent, and some of them just have maybe like a sound in the distance that a microphone might have picked up on. The next section we're gonna discuss, I just named the sides, because I don't know what else to call it. The things that are in the videos that might be props or just sides of her meals or what is going on the table. There is one particular shot that I want to show you, because in this whole video she does use a glass. I think it is like a normal wine glass, but she flips it over and then uses the bottom of that glass to hold something. I'm not sure if these are chives or just some form of green peppers or something, but I was just thinking, does this have anything to do with culture? Assuming that Kate might be French or have some connections to France, is this something that you would possibly do there? I'm saying it because it strikes me as something she would have done naturally. Like, I would usually personally myself, if I had like, I don't know, 5 chives or something to put as a side to my meal, I'd like put it in, you know, a small bowl. And she doesn't care about the aesthetic of all of it. So I'm just wondering, why is it not just thrown on the tray like the rest of the food? Why is in this one single video she eating something from like the bottom of a wine glass? I'd really be interested to know what people think about this particular thing. Like, is this something that some of you would do instinctively? And if so, why? Is it part of your culture? Is it just like something you have seen somebody do online and now you are doing it yourself? I mean, it might be that there was an influencer that we were not aware of in 2018 that maybe she has picked this up from. And then I'd like you to let me know what you think about that video where she does have something that to me looks like a candle and a flower pot or just pot of some sorts in the background. Like, do you maybe recognize the brand or just in general what those are? And do you think that they're on the floor or are they positioned somewhere else? Because those appear in 1 or 2 videos only. There's absolutely no purpose for them to be there. And yet again, I'm thinking, why would you hold something like a candle in your kitchen area on the floor? Or just this random pot, really? There's just no purpose that I can identify for these objects to be there. So maybe she decided to have them in the backdrop for it to look nicer. Or yet again, maybe she's just hiding the floor or hiding something from us. Also in this very video, she is eating noodles, and there is sort of like a brand in the shot that yet again might lead to some form of identification of like where this brand is sold in Europe or in the US. Now this next section is purely for the people who are die-hard into these conspiracy theories, because I have a feeling you would have found me and skinned me have I not mentioned this. But not to lie to you, I also found it super interesting. And that is things moving on its own. Hey, maybe Kate has ghosts. Honestly, I have replayed some of these so many times, so let me just play them for you. So here you would see the table shake, you would see the bowl just move by itself. That is the one that struck me as the oddest one, because it just seems to literally have moved like an inch forward towards us. But also, I don't see actually anything sinister, because you don't see an arm, you don't see it being like a rough cut between the shots. I don't think that if somebody's legs were like underneath that table, that is how, yet again, the balls would be moving. The only logical explanation beyond the supernatural, if you really don't want to think that the ghosts are doing this, would be that maybe the table is arched so that it's going downwards towards us, and that is why in certain instances, you know, the ball would slide or like the table would shake. And if we are thinking that she is sitting on the ground, well then her legs are right there. You know, have like a jilt after eating the insane amount of food that she is. So like her knee maybe hits the table and it shakes, or like the knee hits the table and kind of like the ball dunks down an inch and then it stops. So it's not like the table's incline is completely downwards, because then the whole food would literally be going into the camera. But it's rather that probably she shakes like underneath the table and then something just slides towards us. If you do remember from the video last week, she does have that jittery moment with her fingers on the bowl that people have interpreted as Morse code. This might be the equivalent of that from the part of the body that we don't see, where she is just like jittery because of the amount of food that just suddenly hit her system. And here I'm just gonna ask you to think about yet again the videos 1 and 2 and how this table actually looks like. If she is presumably eating from this same table all throughout her 30 videos, well, this table seems to me like it is metal. It would make sounds as she's just moving about herself, and that might yet again be why she might be using the towels, because we never see the bottom of that table. What if she's using those towels underneath the table to protect her knees, her thighs from hitting it and hurting herself, but also having in mind the sound of her videos? Right now, let's talk about the sounds. And I divided this last part into sounds, pauses, and voices. So let me play a sound. You tell me if you hear anything. In context, when watching a video, did you think that this sigh was made by somebody else? Let's play it again. Here's another sound for you. What do you hear? Do you hear it as a zipper and something really close to Kate? Or do you hear it as the door creak? What about this background noise? Do you believe those clinging sounds are made by her hitting the table, or do you believe they're made by somebody in the background? In terms of pauses, just like most of the other noises, I haven't myself acknowledged anything up until reading the people's comments. But once I did replay the timestamps that people had put in the comments, I did find multiple times where it does seem like she is reactive to the camera, as if she pauses, waits for the sign, and then continues chewing. And what people have said, and what is really noticeable, is that after those pauses, she always does bring that manic energy and eats a lot faster. What doesn't freak me out is the actual pause. And I think this is because I've been a creator behind the camera for about a year. So obviously when I edit my own videos, there is so many awkward pauses, like where I just look, you know, like, oh, is it still recording? Or I just talk to myself and then, you know, decide whether or not to edit that out. Or there is that awkward moment where I'm like thinking how to word this before saying it on camera. But what you don't really notice me do is leave those pauses in. So what truly freaks me out in those videos is that she does. She could have made a rough cut and just continued eating. People wouldn't have been counting the bites. And now on to the voices, and here I really do need to play them to you one by one before telling you what the voice might be saying. So here is the first listen. You tell me if you hear anything, and then I'm gonna tell you what the internet thinks she is signaling to us. Did you hear somebody say something like faster? Do you hear anybody else talking in this one? Now, what if I told you those were not sounds made by her, but somebody saying hurry? What about here, just as she slurps on the mussel? With that last one, I really thought that was just her, in the process of like between slurping and taking a breath. What about on this occasion as she's struggling to finish the sweets? Did somebody just say just eat to her? And here, as she's struggling to finish the sweets in this video that is already one of the longest ones, is somebody maybe trying to speed her up in a way? Did you hear a second voice saying fast? Possibly the eeriest one, do you hear her utter something here? Was that just her struggling to swallow, or did she signal us to help her? As I mentioned, this is an immersive experience. I would really like to know your comments and your thoughts on these sounds. I feel like plenty of you at the first play probably struggled to hear anything. And then on the second play, after I told you what the sound should be, you were like, oh, yeah, okay, I can hear that. Because that is exactly what happened to me. At the first listen, it just sounds like a noise caused by either her eating, swallowing. And then on the second listen, you kind of listen for the word that somebody told you to be on the lookout for. So it is that thing of, well, yeah, she might be saying that word. But a couple of things to note. On the first 4 videos, she doesn't have the comments on, so there are no really speculations about those videos online. And then even on most of them where she does, there aren't really that many timestamps. But then also looking at it as if something morbid is going on, if this was you in this situation, wouldn't you use any opportunity to maybe stay quiet so that somebody can hear a secondary voice and then you react to that secondary voice, because that's the only thing you can do. So you start eating faster, you sort of like nod to the camera, you start moving manically. And also, if there was any chance between those bites that somebody's clearly making you eat fast, to utter help or something to signal people that you are in danger, that you would try to desperately send any signal to anybody listening. Before going into conclusions, what clues do we have on her actual location? So, at least country-wise. Her YouTube channel does state that she is based in the United States. From the descriptions, we can tell that English is not her first language and that she did write a couple of them in French. What I didn't see in the comments are French people confirming like this is correct French, like French is definitely her first language. So that might bring me to my second actionable point, which is, can maybe somebody proofread those and spot something? I'm not saying obviously an accent, because as I mentioned in the first video, like she does whisper, it is all ASMR. And, you know, even when she does speak, she speaks in English. So I'm not really probably asking for somebody to spot an accent. But, you know, is there anything revealing in her description posts that might tell you, okay, she is like from south of France, or she isn't French at all, like French is not her first language? Because I think that type of thing can be spotted, like maybe she is using a particular word that is only commonly used in this part of the country. And then the only other clue towards the location, in the chicken nuggets video, on the text on screen, she does mention that she bought the chicken nuggets in Belgium. So I'm just thinking about the logistics of this. I mean, it is chicken, so did she bring them in Belgium and then transport them somewhere? Because if this was to go from Belgium to the US, well, you wouldn't be transporting chicken nuggets, what, in a plane or something, just for the sake of doing it. So she might have been traveling, might be based in Belgium, for all we know, or might just be trolling us and she didn't actually go to Belgium to get them. In summary, are we any closer to finding out the actual location of Katie Up? I feel like, yet again, this will be the third actionable point and something that would be really easy to do, but probably for privacy reasons, somebody like YouTube can't do themselves. I'm actually quite surprised that like Anonymous or other hackers group have never gotten onto this channel. This isn't the part of the action point. Don't get Anonymous on this, please. Don't get Anonymous on my case. Somebody will remove me off like YouTube and off the internet completely if I start being like, hey, bring Anonymous onto this. But like a hacker organization just of some sorts to be like, hey, actually, Katie Up's IP address is in this place. Because I feel like probably YouTube did receive a lot of flags about her channel, and her channel is still up, so I suspect they would have investigated, and yet again, YouTube doesn't have to keep us in the loop necessarily on what they are doing, and for privacy reasons probably won't release her IP address. I'm not saying we should be releasing her actual location. I mean, I would have liked had somebody maybe released it for a welfare check to the police, kind of like in Marina Joy's situation we spoke about last week, so that the authorities at least confirm there is nothing dodgy happening here. Because from the gist of all of her videos, I don't think that there is some insane brain power going into this where somebody is using VPN and they're just like bouncing the IP address all over the place. And well, also this could reveal why was she dormant for over a year. Has she changed the IP addresses? Has she even logged into her YouTube account? And if so, from which address? So I don't want Anonymous on it, I just want maybe YouTube on it, flagging it for a welfare check to the local police, because I know that they can pinpoint the location, and then, yet again, suddenly this isn't a mystery. From what we saw in the videos, I would say this is the same household, just based on the same tray that she uses throughout 30 videos, mostly the same cutlery. She did make videos sort of twice, sometimes once a month. So yet again, why would she be changing the cutlery? And also, why would she be moving it had she been changing the locations? She does not seem to have a preferred angle to shoot from, but yet again, that does fit her channel. It fits its whole purpose. It's not about the aesthetic, it is about zooming in on that food. I believe I briefly mentioned this in the first video, but she, to me, doesn't look like she's vitamin D deprived. She doesn't look to me like she has not seen the sun in forever, which is something that I definitely think would be obvious on camera if she had really in fact been kidnapped and just held somewhere hostage, held in the darkness with a blindfold on that doesn't really even cover her eyes, and not seeing the light of day for a year and a half. Just thinking about how this fits with the glass balls, with the location, with the angles, and I mean changing the location and the angles, it does strike me as if she is using the natural light, or at least natural light mixed with maybe artificial one. Or I mean, her camera does seem to be of great quality, so there's nothing really for me to say that she isn't using just great lights that wouldn't really show in the glass bowls that she has on the tray. And finally, I hate to break it to you, but there is definitely somebody in the room or around, maybe living with her and just being in different rooms, moving around as she records these videos. And so far, the internet has misconstrued this to be a really bad, sinister thing. So next week, meet me here, same time, same place, to focus on that particular angle, which might show that something is very wrong with Kate Yap's channel. But that is what I have for Kate Yap's channel analysis, part 2 out of 4. Feel free to scream at me in the comments for calling the table an ironing board, or just anything else that I might have missed out. There are so many timestamps on her comments. She on some videos has like over 10,000 comments, but these are the ones where I was like, okay, there might be a chance for somebody to see this the way people have seen it, because some of them I would just like replay it and be like, I don't really see much. I don't hear what you're hearing, even after like second, third play. There's a lot of Germans in the comments, so that was something. Just me with my basic German language knowledge being like, hey, Schlüssel. Schneller, oh, I know what schneller means. Somebody might be saying schneller in the videos. Or they might not. What I wanna see, because I will rewatch all 30 videos of hers at least 2 more times. Life. I'm giving this girl so much money this month, or whoever is her account holder. What I need to see is French people in the comments, speaking in English, confirming, you know, my things, the actionable points that I have given you in this video. Yes, French people, come at me. How do I make French people come at me? SEO, Maya, tags, titles, headlines to this video. This video will be titled French people come at me. But in a nice way, French people, yeah? Drop your comments below. Is she French? Do you believe 100% that she has some French origins? And will we ever be any closer to finding her location? That yet again is it from me this week. I shall be seeing you for another video on the channel tomorrow. Bye guys! Goodbye! Oh, I'm making sounds. Look at this. My ass is itchy and I'm like banging my chair against the wall. Please don't call the police about me, for fuck's sake.